The fieldwork placement I was at for the following case study was a child rehabilitation centre in central Shanghai. While the initial focus of the centre was for children with cerebral palsy, it currently supports children with autism, Down syndrome and other cognitive delays. The centre provides individual and group therapy for children. Whilst it houses 12, a total of 45 children attend the centre on a daily basis. During the placement, I applied the Canadian model of occupation performance and engagement with the children and projects that I was involved in. The occupations that the children complete at the centre include learning colours, objects and animals, reading and completing obstacle courses and puzzles. The centre works to combine education-based outcomes with physical activities. There is a large value on productivity and success. All activities are education-based within the centre. While productivity is a strong value in the societal context, the activities run are often repetitive. This has an impact on the child's effective person element of the CMOP. Hence, the children lose motivation and complete tasks to the best of their ability, and do not complete tasks to the best of their ability. Due to the institutional factors and values of the centre, the productivity section from the CMOP is encouraged. The children have limited opportunities to complete self-care tasks or to be involved in leisure activities. This is inhibiting their involvement in activities which promote the development of their mature roles, such as a self-maintainer, a worker, a friend and a parent. Due to the common needs of the children, a snooze and room project was implemented. While the equipment and space was readily available, it was not being utilised. The project's goal was to increase the amount of sensory-based activities that children are involved in and therefore assist in the engagement and participation in classroom and therapy sessions. Children who qualified for the project included individuals who were hypo and hyperactive, thus indicating varying degrees of required sensory input and therefore varying goals during individual sessions. Each child was rotated through the room on a daily basis. Various activities were completed, including sharing music balls, using a bubble tower and also sensory balls. The similar issues that many of the children shared were verbal communication delays, limited social interactions, and poor motivation and attention to class activities. The project was completed by 2 occupational therapy students. My role in the project was to work with the children in the room and to encourage them to maintain focus on activities. Question 1. How did culture impact the OT program? Culture played a major role in the selection of the model that I used throughout my placement. With spirituality being the core aspect of the CMOP, it helped me to recognise the children and their intrinsic values and beliefs regardless of their physical ability, age or other characteristics. As culture had a large impact on the spiritual well-being and development of individuals, I thought that it was important to have this being very central to my view of the person and therefore my therapy interventions. The children in the centre have limited choice and opportunities to express themselves. This helped me to recognise that it was important for my interventions to uphold the values and expectations of their social and institutional environment, but also to allow the children to exercise their own personal choice and exploration, thus nurturing the child's core spiritual being. Not only was the cultural aspects of this relationship related to the societal and practice context of the CPPF, it was present in the environmental section of the CMOP. Culture impacted on the communication, relationship and therapeutic outcome with our client. The Chinese culture, as stated before, is very focused on productivity and self-care over leisure occupations. This emphasises the importance of schoolwork and personal responsibilities over such things as video games and play. Other common cultural values include family, respect for elders, self-restraint and hard work. These values and norms were evident in the institutional setting that the children were situated in. As the majority of activities in the practice contests were education-based, myself and the other students were to enhance the children's ability to engage in meaningful occupations, but also to ensure that the interventions were sustainable and therefore seen as worthwhile to the staff. We factored this into our intervention by providing the staff with a PowerPoint presentation on how to run the snooze and room. We also spent a day training one of the staff members to increase her ability to train others. Due to the nature of the Go Global program, the Canadian Practice Process Framework was not completed in a regular manner. As the rapport between Curtin and the centre is well established, each group in that visits the centre is required to implement sustainable interventions, and the following group is required to evaluate the outcome of each implemented project. While I was required to enter and initiate contact with each individual child, I was at the same time evaluating the outcome of previously implemented projects at the centre. This helped to guide the later two stages: assess, evaluate and agree on objectives and plan, whilst working with the children. Many of the children I worked with were new to the centre and had not had previous experience with Western people. This was an enabling factor, as I was able to quickly build rapport with the children through participating in individual and group activities. One of the major cultural barriers I faced throughout this process was to make the intervention appropriate for children and their needs, but also to make it fit with the practice context and their ability to carry out interventions once my placement had finished. From observing and evaluating the outcomes of the previous projects, it was apparent that the staff had not valued the interventions. As the staff are fundamental to the success of the project, it is important to integrate their values within the interventions. After discussing the possible approaches to helping the children, the staff had expressed concern for each child's ability to interact in a socially appropriate manner. We were able to explain the benefits that the room could have on each child and how it would also help the staff. Here we were able to use evidence-based practice to support our reasoning, as studies have shown that sensory integration-based activities can help to decrease negative behaviours and increase attention to tasks. Question 2. How is the Snowsland project run? What were the strengths and how could it have been improved? The Snowsland project was implemented over the course of 2.5 weeks. As it was a new project, each of the university students wanted to experience the room and the effect that it had on the children. As the project was formed for the benefit of the children, we developed a roster that the students could follow. This was so they could experience the room while still having stability and structure for the sessions with each of the children. Each student spent 2 days in the room. Their first day they were learning, their second day they were teaching. To ensure the appropriate handover was given, I spent an hour each morning with 2 students and ran them through the equipment usage and child sessions. The schedule for the students could have been improved if I was able to stay in the room and train each student, as it would have also increased the stability within the Snoozeland room and made a more familiar place for children. Studies have found that Snoozeland rooms have better results with children when they are more familiar with a practicing therapist. The cultural value in education was an enabling factor in the implementation stage of the CPPF, as there was a high amount of support due to the Snoozeland room's role in enhancing the child's ability to maintain attention. I think we were successful in developing a project that was not only beneficial to children and their spiritual beings, but also valued by the staff at the centre. We will, however, only find out if it was sustainable when the next group of students attend the placement. If we were completing ongoing therapy, we could have embraced the evaluate outcome stage by slowly removing ourselves from the room, where we could then ask input from the staff as to how it was running and observe the children in their classroom settings as to if any improvement in their behaviours had occurred. Another of the project's strengths was client-centredness. Client-centred practice with group is characterised by flexibility. The Snoozeland project fitted with this concept, as the timetable was not required to be followed exactly. For example, if one child was not free, another child could be taken in. Communication throughout the project was limited, and the views of the staff and children who used the room was not understood as it could have been if language was not a major barrier. We were able to judge responses from each child in regards to the stimulus in the room and their positive reactions when being taken to complete therapy. We, however, did not seek to ask the children if they enjoyed the Snoozeland room, and this would have been something that we could have worked on, especially because one of our major goals of the room was to increase verbal communication. Communication is known to help increase quality of life for individuals. By integrating this into the Snoozeland project, we were also embracing social role valorisation for the children. Our role was to build culturally valued skills that therefore enabled the acquisition of culturally valued roles, such as family member and worker. Only having the final day of placement as the training was not sufficient, as the day was already interrupted with the students departing. Ideally, we would have started the project a week earlier and had the staff member in the room for over a week to ensure that her understanding of the room was sufficient for working with children once we'd exited. Overall, I think we produced a successful project and that with appropriate handover material and information, that it has the ability to be improved by the following Go Global students in November. Thank you.